What should we include at a participatory project kickoff event?
Well, again, of course, it depends on your own project. But there are some common things we might be able to talk about for just about any project. First of all, as we just talked about, this should follow individual onboarding meetings or communications. This isn't going to be just from scratch the first time people are hearing about a project. It can be done as like one big event or a series of meetings. Be nice to have a really big event, but certainly sometimes that's not possible. So we've had to do just a bunch of smaller meetings. We tend to have either one or more initial full team meetings with everybody. Also have some separate Science 101 trainings for the community partners, and then some participatory research or cultural awareness type training for the academic partners. And if possible, and especially if you're doing a big in-person event, it's great to build in some time for fun, play, meals, getting to know people. That may or may not always be possible depending on the context. So for full team meetings, then the point of these meetings are to really set the stage for the rest of the project. We often will start with introductions, basic name, role, but then we also try to include a little bit more kind of, why people joined, why they care. It's great for others to see their enthusiasm, and then some fun detail. We have hosts of different icebreaker questions, usually silly little things that get people to feel more comfortable. We then will usually do some form of quick overview of the project. Again, remember, everybody's had individual onboarding, so this isn't like a big long lecture about what the project's about, but it's good to kind of recap right then and there what's already been decided, what we'll be working together, where we're at right now. And then this piece I really love. We often do a visioning exercise. It can depend on what, the project and what you want to do, but we'll often ask something, for example, about what would it look like if our project was wildly successful. And this actually is important for a variety of reasons, most of which is that it helps team members recognize that others care and share their passion, especially when you have community partners and academics. It's sometimes easy to think that academics really only care about publications and, and grants and all these kind of academic things. But most academics who are doing participatory research really actually care about making the world a better place. And it's really a great opportunity for community partners to hear them talk about that. It actually, I think, builds trust. Similarly, I think sometimes academic partners, again, assume all sorts of things about community partners, and it's really nice to see what they're envisioning. And sometimes, and often they're envisioning something that we can all greatly agree about. And obviously, if people are envisioning totally different things, well, that's also important to know, because we need to kind of make sure that we're all on the same page and moving towards something that we want. And then much of the initial meetings really need to focus on collaboration practices. Some things might already be set. For example, we already have some guidelines and decision-making processes that we can go over and discuss and tweak. Even though we've been using some of these over and over again, whenever we start a new project, new team members might bring up new concerns. They might have things that might make us tweak them or change them from project to project. We also talk about competing accommodations. At this point, we've had everybody's individual accommodations, and we try our hardest to meet individual accommodation needs. But the truth is that sometimes one person's needs may actually make it harder on somebody else. So we have a pretty frank discussion about how we're going to be able to accommodate everybody's needs, even if some of them may at first glance appear to compete with each other. And then we often will really talk about, like, what are your concerns? What's going to help you feel successful? And that's how we add on to guidelines and really come up with sort of a very on the ground type guides to help the group work as best as possible. And overall throughout, we really just try to encourage in every way possible a culture of mutual respect, as well as a culture of forgiveness and learning and growth. We don't mean forgive and forget, we mean forgive and grow, which means that we know everybody's going to make mistakes. We know you're going to say something that's offensive. You're going to say something that somebody else might, you might think somebody else feels is stupid. The point is to, forgive, understand that we mostly are all here for really good intentions, and then figure out how to make it better for next time. You can see examples of some of our slides from full team meetings on our website, and you can see some of the exercises. So then after that, and I do mean it's after that because it's hard to start with like science lectures, but after you've had those, it is helpful to have a kind of science 101 with community partners. This isn't meant to be exhaustive, and it's not meant to be a class on research methods, but it does help to ease anxiety and get some basic terms out of the way. It also really helps community partners make better informed decisions. It's not that we want community partners to be scientists, but if they better understand the reasons behind why we might be suggesting things, they're going to be able to make much stronger, able to voice much stronger opinions and be involved in much better decisions if they've got some background. Of course, it's tailored to your particular project. For projects where we're doing qualitative research, I'm going to be teaching mostly about qualitative research. For projects that we're adapting surveys, I'm going to be teaching about psychometrics. It really depends on what the project is and what community partners are going to need to know to be able to be involved in every phase of the project. And really, this is a real test for any academic. Can you explain all the important scientific concepts you're using in an accessible way? I have to say my own teaching of PhD students has greatly improved since I started doing Science 101s with my community partners, some of which have intellectual disabilities, some of which don't speak English, some of which haven't even gotten a high school degree. I really am excited that I've been able to explain concepts such as effect modification, interaction terms, different paradigms. And it's doing that really matters both for the project and really for us being able to communicate clearly. We also tend to have a glossary for terms that we'll use repeatedly, because we've said it once and it made sense at this point in a discussion doesn't mean people will remember, and people like having a little glossary of terms. Again, we emphasize over and over again that we're going to re-explain things as we go. Again, you can see some samples of slides from some of our Science 101s, both from qualitative projects and quantitative projects on our website. And then also often, not always, but often have initial meetings for the academic partners. It might be that this is just your single PhD thesis and you don't have any academic partners, but for larger projects, we tend to have academic partners who might be methodologic experts or might be content experts, but may or may not know a lot or have a lot of experience with participatory approaches. It's really important to make sure that they understand the participatory approach you're using for this project. And also to really work with them about what their role is, because honestly, it's really hard sometimes to center community voices while still providing academic expertise. It's worth it to have a discussion with academic partners around what that might look like, and to just make it really clear that their role is, in fact, to provide their academic expertise. They shouldn't just sort of say, oh, okay, the partner said this, I'm worried I'm going to offend somebody. And at the same time, they need to stand back and not take over meetings or not accidentally cause community partners to shut up. And then depending on the project, you also have to think about cultural humility and the basics about the community you're partnering. Whether, I was doing research with the Latinx community, or whether it's the autistic community, there's things that potentially your statistician may not know about this particular community. For autism studies, I think it's really important to actually make sure everybody has some basics on disability, rights history, disability justice, the social model of disability, neurodiversity paradigm, autistic culture, and so forth. And my wonderful friend and colleague, Dora Raymaker, has videos specifically to train academic partners about those things. So please see those also on our website. So again, bottom line, don't just jump into the first set of project tasks without taking time to set up a collaboration. I advise a lot of people who are just really itching to go and, okay, we need to make our consent forms, we need to make our flyers or our data collection materials. It's going to work a lot better if you take the time to really focus on a kickoff meeting. Make that kickoff meeting as fun and inspirational as possible. It really sets the stage, but also discuss important collaboration issues. And people will get a sense right off if you're really being collaborative and you want people to join in. That's really, really key to set up front. And of course, talk about the actual project, but make sure the main kickoff event is very interactive. And I'm saying all these things are so important. Really, though, it's okay not to be perfect. It's better to just get started. I've also advised plenty of, especially junior researchers who get paralyzed by wanting to make everything perfect before they start. It's okay. Groups are meant to grow and learn together. And it's okay to mess up. It's okay for your community partners, your academic partners to see you mess up and to apologize and to fix it and move forward, because that's what's actually going to set the right culture for the whole project. Again, thanks to the Aspire team and to